If you've been listening to this podcast, you know I don't believe leadership is about titles. It's about responsibility and the courage to do the right thing. It's about who stands up when it would be easier to stay quiet. And today, you guys, I'm sharing some big news. I'm running for the United States Senate this year to represent the great state of Montana. That's right, I'm challenging Steve Daines for his seat. I didn't come to this decision lightly. For more than 2 decades, my life's work has been about protecting people, often in places where the stakes were life and death. I've hunted terrorists with special operations, neutralized spies, served as a senior bodyguard to a top Pentagon official, and helped take pedophiles and traffickers off the streets on almost every continent. But what that work taught me most wasn't how to fight. It taught me how to lead under pressure, how to tell the truth when it's uncomfortable, and how to protect the vulnerable, even when it costs you. My political platform is focused on accountability, protecting the vulnerable, education, and abundance for all Montanans. My entire life has been in service to this great country. I'm a third-generation service member. My grandfather served in World War II. My dad is a career military officer, having deployed to the Middle East himself. And I have also spent a lot of time overseas over my almost 22 years of service in and out of combat zones. And as a side note, any mention of my service does not constitute endorsement by the Department of Defense. My husband is a retired Air Force special agent. My brother is a Navy veteran. My mother was a dedicated military spouse who made incredible sacrifices. My father and I are also career law enforcement, me serving as a special agent and him as a police officer. And I have extensive family that have served all over the United States as law enforcement. My dog even serves. Police Canine Lulu finds digital media evidence in child sex abuse material cases. Find her on social media at Canine Lulu MT and give her a follow. My military career gave me a front row seat to US and international politics. I was in the rooms in Congress, the White House, with prime ministers and other senior international and national leaders. And here's the truth: Washington isn't protecting Montanans. Too many politicians, including Steve Daines, have gotten comfortable in a system that protects their power and rewards the same donors, and they call that leadership. Meanwhile, Montanan families are working harder just to stay afloat. Veterans are slipping through the cracks. Women are losing control over their own lives. Young adults are losing hope that the American dream is possible for them. And our rural and agricultural communities are treated like an afterthought once the campaign signs come down. That's not how Montana works. We don't live by short-term games or political scorekeeping. We live by what has to be done. The cattle still need to be fed when it's 60 below. The fields don't pause because you're tired or sick. And when we are fiercely independent, we also know this truth. When you're stuck in a snowdrift, it's usually a stranger who stops to help dig you out, and they don't ask whether you're red or blue. That's Montana, and that's the kind of leadership we deserve. Up front, I'm not from Montana. Because I spent my entire life moving every 1 to 3 years all over the nation and world as an Army brat, an active duty service member, and wife to an active duty service member, I've been to probably over 75 countries. But that travel gives me perspective. I know Montana feels polarized to many, but Montana still has the seeds of leadership the rest of the country desperately needs. Montanans are practical, roll your sleeves up, and get the job done kind of people. And there's so much evidence to support this. The 60 Minutes news report from a month ago, where they showcased how both sides of the aisle came together to prevent public lands from being sold off as part of the big, beautiful bill, is a prime example. In another instance, 9 Republicans in Montana's Senate voted with Democrats to reauthorize a Medicaid expansion, establish a child tax credit, increase access to maternal health care, and pass a state budget because they put their people over politics. These stories were covered by the biggest media outlets on the planet because there is no other state leading in this way. That is leadership. And it's the kind of leadership the US needs. And folks, I personally haven't found it anywhere else in the country. While most states are too red or too blue, I believe in what so many others say. Montana has never been just red or blue. It's the most purple state in the union. And Montana deserves better than career politicians that put party loyalty ahead of you. Steve Daines had his turn, and what has he done lately? He hasn't shown up to work. As an elected representative, the bare minimum expected of you is to show up and represent the people of Montana. Last month in December of 2025, when the Senate was considering an extension of healthcare subsidies, Daines did not vote. As an elected representative, you have one job. You go and you represent your constituents in the Capitol. And when he doesn't vote, that means Montana doesn't have a voice and policy decisions are made without anyone hearing what you think. And that should piss you off. I mean, it pisses me off. Do I think his job is easy? Absolutely not. But at a minimum, I do expect him to show up. Second, elected officials are expected to interface with their constituents to understand their perspectives in order to best represent them on Capitol Hill. Daines hasn't held a town hall that's documented anywhere in at least the last year, and he didn't bother showing up in Billings when he was invited last March. Everywhere I go, people say his office doesn't respond to phone calls, emails, and even those who make the trek all the way to DC don't get face-to-face meetings with him. Remember that I'm a human intelligence expert, and I've had some of the best intelligence training in the world. I was the person with briefcases full of money meeting with informants who told me where to find senior Al-Qaeda leaders. I ran informants to bust drug traffickers. I've been in countless interview rooms assessing people. Behavior is a language. Daines not showing up says he doesn't respect the people of Montana on the most fundamental level. And can we talk for a second about the disaster that was the Argentina bailout? America First does not mean giving Argentina 40 billion American tax dollars, then trying to buy their beef in direct competition with Montanan ranchers, only to then provide a $12 billion lifeline to ranchers and farmers. It was solving a problem that Republicans and Daines created, and all Steve Daines did was make a call to the president. It's not enough, not by a long shot. I have a master's degree in international relations, and I've spent my career advocating for America's best interests at home and abroad. I believe in coalitions and partnerships, and that instability abroad means potential threats arise against America. Everyone in Montana knows we do it better together, but you don't have to be blind to see that Montanans are hurting. And we have to focus on strengthening the well-being of our neighbors first, because when Montana thrives, America thrives. And listen, most Montanans don't know me, and that makes sense. I've never been in politics. And even looking at me, you might underestimate me. But I've been underestimated in every room I ever walked into. But the beauty of people underestimating you is they don't see you coming. And that is when the real work gets done. I didn't build my career by giving speeches or playing office politics. I built it by solving hard problems under pressure, often with no margin for error, no public credit, and no second chances. And in Montana, people don't care if you have a name. They care if you show up, do the job, and leave things better than you found them. You don't have to know me. You have to decide what matters more. A suit bought by special interests and dark money, or someone with a track record of accomplishing the mission. And how am I going to get to the Senate? Well, the same way I've been successful at every other mission, with a team of people who give a damn, who want to fight for Montana. In recent years, I pivoted from running large-scale law enforcement operations where we arrested traffickers and pedophiles and recovering abused kids to teaching others how to replicate the successes that we had. And when people in those learning rooms asked how we achieved the results that we did, including almost every case going to a plea deal or conviction because our work was that good, I tell them it always started with a small group of people who wanted to do the impossible. Usually it was less than 5 folks in any jurisdiction I worked in who overcame agency politics, self-doubt, and a lack of resources to achieve a result no one person could have done alone. I believe the same to be true of Montanans. I know you guys are frustrated by the economy, high housing costs, property taxes, healthcare, education, and the powerful exploiting the vulnerable. And it's easy to think you don't have the power to create the change you want in your community. But what I know to be true from all of my years of advocating for the vulnerable is when you bring your gift and I bring my gift, we can create a better community together. We can hold those who abuse their power accountable, and we create hope. And when others see what a few can do together, hope spreads. I've seen it play out many times over the last 2 decades. One of the greatest joys of my life has been hearing of agents and other intelligence professionals taking the techniques I taught them to other jurisdictions, knowing they have the confidence and belief that they can help the vulnerable thrive and hold perpetrators accountable is one of my proudest achievements. And listen, I get that things feel really broken in government. Having traveled all over the world, I've seen what true broken government looks like. America isn't perfect, and she has her problems, but I still believe she's the best the world has to offer. One of my terrorism informants was an Al Qaeda car bomb maker. As with any conversation, there's always some level of rapport building that happens. And as I talked to this informant one day, I realized he actually wasn't ideologically aligned with Al Qaeda, and he didn't want to hurt Americans. But his terrorist bosses were simply the highest paying employer in the region, and he had kids to feed. Even though I've always been proud to be American, this was the moment I really understood what an incredible gift it was to be born in the United States. Had this man been born in almost any other country, he could have been an engineer designing and building cars rather than a bomb maker destroying them. That was the moment I realized I'd won the genetic lottery and that this gift came with responsibility to share the hope that America is with the world. But in order for this beautiful democratic experiment to work, we must step up and fight for her together. And the fight starts here. Whatever you feel passionate about, I believe we all have a responsibility to offer our gifts to something bigger than ourselves. You don't have to be in the military to fight tyranny. I and the rest of my military brothers and sisters are so blessed to serve an American public who supports us, because I've talked to international military partners who don't receive the same love from their citizens. I'm often thanked for my service by really gracious people, but honestly, my hope for every Montanan is that you realize the best way to thank me is by living your best life. Because there are so many people around the world who don't have the ability to create massive success from nothing like here in America. Start to believe that your contribution matters, because it does. I don't care if you run for office, fight to break generational poverty, start a business, shove a neighbor's driveway, or drop a casserole on the stoop of someone who needs it. Every bit of effort to build America reinforces that this is the greatest country on the planet. But my greatest gift to any mission has always been my ability to bring the right people together and creating an environment where everyone can offer their best. And folks, I'll be totally transparent. I don't pretend to know everything about every topic, but I don't need to in order to fight for you. Whatever you're passionate about, education, farming, mining, the environment, I need your help. Join the campaign. And there are lots of ways you can do that. First, please donate. I know finances are tight, but even $1 would mean the world to supporting me and my team's ability to get to Capitol Hill and start fighting for you. Join the mailing list. Volunteer to make calls or knock on doors. Host a fundraising event. However you want to contribute, I'd be so honored and thankful for your partnership. And finally, this campaign is not about me. It's about whether we're willing to demand more from our leaders and from ourselves. I believe in an America where service still means something, where accountability is real, where abundance isn't reserved for the few, but made possible for all. And I believe Montana can lead the nation by choosing courage. And it starts with you receiving the truth that Montana matters. You matter. Follow me on social media at Alani4Montana. That's at Alani FORMT on all major platforms. Donate, get in the fight for democracy. I'm Alani Bankhead, and I'm honored to serve and uplift the amazing people of Montana. And if this is your first time joining the podcast, I have a very familiar send-off. The world needs who you were made to be. Thank you for joining me today on this journey to discover how you can harness your gifts to serve your community.